George Foreman, the man who lost $5 million, went broke and built a $300 million empire. Imagine standing at the absolute peak of the sporting world. You're the most terrifying heavyweight boxer on the planet. Millions of dollars in the bank, an untouchable reputation, and power that makes fully grown men tremble in their boots. Then in the blink of an eye, it's all gone. Your title? Gone. Your money? Vanished. By the time you hit your mid-30s, you aren't just retired. You're completely broke, carrying 50 extra pounds, and trying to feed a family of 10 while keeping a local youth center from shutting its doors. Most people would throw in the towel. But this isn't most people. This is the story of George Foreman, the man who lost everything, faced the ultimate humiliation, and staged the greatest, most improbable comeback in human history. Before the downfall, George Foreman wasn't just a champion. He was a nightmare in boxing trunks. After capturing Olympic gold for Team USA in 1968 at just 19 years old, Foreman turned pro and went on a tear that shattered the heavyweight division. By 1973, he was 37-0 with 34 knockouts. When he stepped into the ring against the undefeated world heavyweight champion Joe Frazier, experts thought it'd be a war. Instead, Foreman knocked Frazier down 6 times in just 2 rounds. He hit with the force of a runaway freight train. He crushed Ken Norton in 2 rounds. He seemed literally invincible, a towering force of nature that no human being could slow down. If you love unbelievable sports comebacks and stories of pure grit, do me a quick favor. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us bring you more stories like this. To understand how Big George became that unstoppable force, you have to look back at the man who stood by him before the fame. Charles "Doc" Broadus. Before the world titles, George was a troubled, angry kid growing up in the rough 5th Ward of Houston. He dropped out of school at 15 and spent his nights as a street mugger. He was headed straight for prison or an early grave. Enter Doc Broadus. As a counselor at a Job Corps camp, Doc didn't see a criminal. He saw a kid overflowing with raw, unguided energy. Doc handed George a set of gloves and taught him how to channel his rage into the ring. Doc wasn't just a trainer, he was a father figure, an anchor, and the one person who believed in George when he had absolutely nothing to his name. That unwavering support laid the foundation for everything George achieved in his first chapter. Then the unthinkable happened. In 1974, Foreman traveled to Zaire to fight Muhammad Ali in the famous Rumble in the Jungle. Ali introduced the rope-a-dope strategy, absorbing George's brutal punches until Foreman collapsed from exhaustion in the 8th round. It was George's first career loss, and it broke something inside him. 3 years later, after losing a grueling fight to Jimmy Young in 1977, Foreman collapsed in his dressing room. He experienced what he described as a harrowing near-death vision and a profound spiritual awakening. He walked away from boxing on the spot, became an ordained minister, and turned his back on the sport forever. Here is where the disaster hit. Over the next decade, George poured his career savings into funding a community youth center in Houston and taking care of his family. But poor financial advice, bad investments, and constant expenses drained every last dollar. By 1987, the former heavyweight champion of the world was flat broke. The bank accounts were empty, and the youth center he loved was weeks away from shutting down. It's wild how fast life can turn around, right? Drop a comment down below with the most inspiring sports story you've ever seen. Remember that financial disaster we talked about? The total wipeout of his fortune? Most 38-year-old retired boxers in that position would despair. But Big George did the unthinkable. He put the gloves back on. The boxing world openly mocked him. He was 38 years old, weighed nearly 300 pounds, and hadn't thrown a professional punch in 10 long years. Commentators called it a joke, a dangerous circus act. Except George wasn't joking. He traded his terrifying scowl for a friendly, infectious smile, but his power? That had never left. Fight after fight, victory after victory, George knocked out men half his age. Then came November 5, 1994. At 45 years old, wearing the exact same red trunks he wore against Muhammad Ali 20 years earlier, George Foreman stood in the ring against the 26-year-old undefeated champion, Michael Moorer. Moorer outboxed him for 9 straight rounds. But in the 10th round, George landed a short, crushing right hand straight to the chin. Down went Moorer. At 45 years and 10 months old, George Foreman became the oldest heavyweight champion in boxing history. Reclaiming the world title was incredible, but George's comeback story didn't end in the ring. In 1994, a company asked him to endorse a small countertop slant grill. Because of his new, lovable persona, people trusted him. The George Foreman Lean Mean Fat Reducing Grilling Machine went on to sell over 120 million units worldwide. George made over $200 million from royalties alone, eventually selling the rights for an astonishing $137 million payout. The man who made roughly $5 million in his first boxing career made over $300 million as an entrepreneur. George Foreman's life proves one undeniable truth. It doesn't matter how hard you fall, how much you lose, or how late in the game it feels. As long as you're willing to stand back up, your second act can be even bigger than your first. If Big George can go from broke and written off at 38 to world champion and business icon at 45, what's stopping you from making your own comeback? If this story inspired you today, smash that subscribe button right now, ring that notification bell, and check out the video on your screen right here to see another incredible story of resilience. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.